So, hey, greetings and welcome. Page 259. We're talking about props of expos here. Here's question 27. And the first thing I might want to deal with is this little guy here, because I can't work on anything in this parentheses, but I can simplify this so that the parentheses no longer apply. So I'm going to distribute this square over all of those, like so. And I'll write this like this for now, but -3 all squared. R squared squared, what do I do with those exponents? Multiply them. And actually in this case I couldn't tell, I would be unable to determine if you added them, because 2 plus 2 is the same as 2 times 2, is the same as 2 squared. What? What? That crazy 2. S to the first times 2 is 2. And then we'll just have this multiplied by 2r s cubed, like so. Notice I don't distribute this cubed because it only applies to the base that it's with. Question, -3 all squared. What's that equal to?
-6.
That means -3 times -3, which is positive 9, correct?
Okay.
I believe is the case. Now, oddly enough, if I had -3 squared, that would mean the opposite of 3 times 3. So that's a little weird, which is -9. So I just want to point out that if you're squaring a negative, you do get a positive. If you're squaring a number and then making it negative, it's a little bit different. So beware, friends, beware. So let's see. So that's 9. Let's see. R to the 4th times R to the 1st. What do I do with those guys? Add them. And let's see. S. Oh, I forgot the 2 here. Oh, that's fine. S to the 2 times S to the 3rd. Add them. And multiply by 2. And I get 18. R to the 5th. S to the 5th. Question?
Why is -3 squared equal to -9?
Because this minus sign, you could view it as -1 times 3 squared. And then using PEMDAS, I exponentiate before I multiply. So yeah, so these two differences right here, muy importante.
But isn't that just a -3?
No, nope, the squaring is applying before the minus sign. If you have the parentheses, then it's -3 times -3. Yeah, so it's that's one thing that you might want to memorize there, that little fact, because that could come back to haunt us. Let's see, here I've got 2 things being multiplied. Let's deal with these fractions. 3 goes into 3 once, into 9 thrice. 4 goes into 4 once, into 8 twice. So my fraction is going to be, oh, and it's negative, by the way, notice that. So that's -1 times 2 is 2. 1 times 3 is 3. And let's see, m squared times m to the 1st is 3m's, and n cubed times n to the 4th is 7n's. So you deal with the fractions normal-like, unless, of course, I happen to have some exponents wrapped around them, then I'd have to potentially distribute or something of the like. Question? No? No? All right. Here we go. This one's a good one. A good one. Let's see. Let's deal with this fraction part. 15 over 45. I could reduce. 15 goes into 15 once and into 45 thrice. So that's going to be negative something. And there's going to be a 3 in the denominator. M to the 5th times m cubed is m to the 8th. N to the 8th times n squared is n to the 10th. And then I've got m to the 4th down here and n to the 1st, the foist. So this is going to equal negative. Now, what do I do when I divide 2 things with the same base? Subtract the exponents. So this is going to be negative m to the 8 minus 4 is 4, and n to the 10 minus 1 is 9 all over 3.
Boom.
Boom. And notice it's more simplified than it was originally because I was able to combine all my variables into a single representation of that variable, which is nice. Quite nice. All right, let's look at one last example. Ah, this one says find the value of r that would make the expression true, or yeah, that is the directions. So check this out. If I was multiplying these two things, what would I do with the 3 and the r?
You add them.
I'd add them, right? So that's 3 plus r, all to the 5th, is equal to x to the 30th. And now I've got power raised to a power property. What do I do in that case?
You multiply.
That's multiplication, so that's x to the 15th plus 5r equals x to the 30th. And now this is a property here where if I've got two powers that are equal and their bases are the same, what do you think you could tell me about their exponents?
You can add them.
That this guy has to equal that guy. All right? So 15 plus 5r must have equaled 30. And now I can just solve this normal like. We'll deal with variables and exponents a lot later on in the course. In fact, the last chapter, and be able to explain that. My 5 looks a little 6-ish. 6-ish. So I'll get r is equal to 3. Good one here. I like it. So so that's the idea for the homework. Thanks for watching. Props of
So-
Expos.
You just lost.